Hi, boys and girls. I've enjoyed learning so much about you. Now it's time to learn about an artist named Yayoi Kusama. This book is called Yayoi Kusama, covered everything in dots, and wasn't sorry. My name is Yayoi. I am an artist, and I'd like to tell you my story. I was born in Matsumoto, a historic city in Japan, with a beautiful castle. I have always loved drawing more than anything else in the world. When I was a little girl, I carried a sketchbook with me wherever I went. I drew everything I saw. I would sit in the meadows between the flowers and plants and see things around me that other people didn't. I rushed to draw them in my sketchbook before they disappeared. I used to dream of becoming a famous artist. I longed to fly away to other countries where artists were doing exciting new things. So when I grew up, I decided to leave Japan. My mother didn't want me to go, but I was determined to make my dream come true. I got on a plane and flew to America. I arrived with a suitcase full of drawings and some money I had hidden in my shoes, but the money soon ran out. With nothing left to buy food, I went to the market to pick up scraps. I would find fish heads and cabbage leaves that had been thrown away, which I used to make soup. At least it was something. I lived on my own in an apartment where I painted day and night. I painted hundreds and hundreds of dots onto large canvases. The dots often came off the pictures and ended up on my dress, table, and walls. But I wasn't sorry. Each dot was a part of thousands of others. They made me feel like I was a single dot that was part of our infinite universe. I was making lots of paintings, but I was poor and alone. One day, an elegant lady came knocking on my door. Her name was Georgia O'Keeffe, and she was a famous American painter. I had written her a letter asking for her advice on how to become a successful artist. She wanted to know how I was and offered to help me sell my artwork. She introduced me to her art dealer, who immediately bought one of my paintings. Wow! I continued to paint a lot of pictures, and soon I was ready to put on my first solo exhibition in New York City. It was a success. I had more and more exhibitions and more ideas for new works. I made soft cushioned shapes, which I used to fill rooms, boats, and shoes, and cover couches and armchairs and hats. I covered bags and dresses with dried pasta and filled rooms with glittering balls and lights. I created mirrored rooms which reflected everything over and over again. I also organized performances that I called happenings, where I covered people's bodies with dots. It was a pretty daring thing to do at the time. My art was starting to get noticed and written about in the newspapers, so I decided to try to change the world for better. I even made a huge dress that could be worn by as many as 25 people at the same time. I loved creating all of this new experimental art, but there came a time when I had to stop because I became unwell. I left New York and went back to Japan to get better. Back at home, I saw the beautiful mountains and the cherry trees in bloom. But a lot of things had changed since I left. The meadows and streams that used to inspire me to draw had been built over, and the cities were filled with smog. This made me sad. Then one day it snowed. The snow covered everything and transformed the landscape, turning it into something pure and beautiful, just how I remembered it from when I was a little girl. I found a studio near the hospital I was staying in and started working. Creating art made me feel better. I also began writing. I would paint during the day and write at night. Although I missed New York, I decided to stay in Japan. It's where I still live today, and I still work non-stop, making paintings, writing books, and designing clothes and other objects. And the other thing I love to make is pumpkins. I've always loved pumpkins with their beautiful shape and sweetness, and I want to show all the love I feel for them through my art. I also like to cover them in, you guessed it, dots. You won't believe it, but I picked up a pumpkin when I was a child and it talked to me. My artworks have become really famous, and you can now see them in many different art galleries and museums around the world. My dream has come true. And the little pumpkin says, "You did it." So, boys and girls, we are going to be creating pumpkins inspired by her artwork. So take a look right here. This artwork is called All the Eternal Love I Have for the Pumpkins. And it's made with acrylic pumpkins and LED lighting and black glass and mirrors and wood and metal. We will not be using all of these to make our pumpkins. We will be using paper and maybe some markers or crayons, and we are going to be inspired by her work. So I hope you enjoyed learning all about Yayoi Kusama. And remember, as always, enjoy and stay creative.